Good morning. We're starting Unit 3, which is graphing and writing linear functions. Linear meaning it creates a line. Okay, so again, linear functions means it creates a line. So we're going to start with some vocabulary. Just a quick review. Function notation is a way to name a function that is defined by an equation like f of x equals. Domain is a set of all of your x values. Range is all of your y values. Slope, this is a review. You haven't seen it in a while, but the slope is the steepness of a line, okay? How steep it goes. So we do the slope is defined as a ratio of the vertical change between 2 points. So I'm sure you've heard this, rise over the run. So you start at one point and you're literally seeing how it changes from one point to the other. Okay, so we're going to kind of start to review that again. The rate of change is a rate that describes how one quantity changes in relation to another quantity. That relates to more when you get into your word problems. Okay. Linear equation is a function that makes a straight line. Okay. So again, linear function is a function that makes a straight line when it's graphed. Okay. Linear parent function, and we'll talk about this here in just a bit, but that's the original form of a linear function. Okay, that's where it all started. Okay, think of a parent, like your parent, that's where you started. Okay, so the equation is y equals x, but now instead of y, we use f of x, so we're going to say f of x equals x. The y-intercept, that's a review for you. That's where that's the y-coordinate of the point where it crosses the y-axis. Remember, the y-axis is the axis that runs up and down. So wherever your equation crosses that line, that's called the y-intercept. Okay, same thing, but this time we're going to talk about an x-intercept. Okay, so that's the new piece of this year. So the x-intercept is the x-coordinate of the line with the x-axis. So now the x-axis runs left to right. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. And then here's another, just a visual picture for you. So x-intercept where it crosses the x-axis, and then y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. Here's a new one. It's the zero of the function, okay, where the graph of the function crosses the x-axis. It's another word for x-intercept. Okay, so sometimes you'll hear zero of the function. Sometimes you'll hear what is the x-intercept. Okay, parallel perpendicular. We'll get into that a little bit more later. So let's kind of just review the linear equations. Okay, so key features of a graph. So here it is. F of x equals negative 2x plus 2. That's what's been graphed on here. Okay, so you can kind of see this already, but this is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so it's already in that form. So right here is our x-intercept, or in other words, our zero of the function, where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, your x-intercept and zero where it crosses the x-axis. Your y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, that's the two main things that you need to know, like as far as key features. Just a quick review on slope. We'll get more detailed later. So you start from one point, you rise. Okay, so in this case, I would rise 2 and run -1 because it's a negative slope. So I would write my rise over my run, which would be 2 over -1. So which would give me the -2 here. Okay, so let's talk about our linear parent function. Our linear parent function, here it is right here. Y equals x. Okay, so y equals x. That's where it all starts. Okay, so and then you go into y equals mx plus b, where it has a slope and then a y-intercept. This one does too, you just can't see it. Our slope would be, our coefficient would be 1, so my slope would be 1 here. It has the equation y equals x, or f of x equals x. Okay, remember this is the new piece. So it is the original function. It's the OG of functions, of linear functions, okay? This is the default graph, and then it gets transformed. That's when you start adding a y-intercept and a slope that's different than 1. So y-intercept is 0, and you can kind of see this. It starts at the origin, okay? So, and then it comes up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So in this case, you would have y equals x plus 0, but you don't see the plus 0. Okay, your slope is 1. You know that when you don't have a number next to your variable, your coefficient is 1. Okay, and again, you know that because rise 1 over run 1, 1 divided by 1 would give you a slope of 1. Okay, the domain, since it's going in both directions, you don't know when it stops. That's all real numbers, okay? All real numbers. And then same thing, if it's going all the way up and down, you don't know where it stops. So your range is also going to be all real numbers. All right, so let's talk about what is slope, okay? Again, it's the steepness of a line, okay? M equals the rise over the run. So the vertical change, how you move either up or down, and then the horizontal change, how you move left to right, okay? So change in Y over change in X. Any of the ways that you want to use these is fine. And then we'll get into where you can see the formula too. So all of these things go together and create where we can find our slope. Okay, so again, our rise, I like to use the little sun. So you can rise in either direction. You can either go up or down, okay? And then over your run, so left or right, okay? So your rise over your run, okay? And in this case, okay. So types of slope, let's talk about it. I don't know if you've seen this before, but this is our slope guy, okay? So I draw his face. And you can see his eyes. So positive slope, when you read it from left to right, it's rising, it's positive. When you go from left to right and it's falling, it would be a negative slope. A line that's straight up and down has a U under his nose. The U stands for an undefined slope. Okay, it's undefined. And then a line straight across, that's zeros. That's why those zeros are in the corner. Okay, so I don't know if anyone's ever explained this to you, but that's why you have a U under the nose and the zeros in the corner. Okay, I've also seen it this way, and whatever helps you learn is fine with us. So think of skiing on ski slopes or skateboarding. Okay, so it's positive. You're going, it's pretty hard. It's pretty positively hard to go uphill. So negative, you're flying. Okay, so negative is when you're falling. Zero, that's zero fun. If you just are trying to ski in a flat area, that's just zero fun. So zero slope. And then undefined, you're not going to shoot straight down a hill, okay? Not straight down, okay? That would not be good. All right, how to find slope from the slope-intercept form of an equation, okay? So I like to always start with a formula chart because you always get a formula chart and you don't really use it, but we're going to really start to use this. This is important. This is helpful, okay? So in the linear equations section, that's where we're going to focus a lot for the next couple weeks. Okay, so we're going to look for slope-intercept form, and you've already heard it. It's y equals mx plus b. Okay, so let's start to figure out what these letters mean. So you find your x in this form. It has to be in this form, y equals. Okay, y equals. So the x, the coefficient of your x, so the number next to your x, is going to be your slope, okay? So again, find your x, and then the coefficient is your slope. Your b, and this tells you how to move. Your b is the constant, okay? And that tells you that's your y-intercept. When you're graphing, that tells you where to begin, okay? So again, this tells you where to begin. This tells you how to move, okay? And as you plug in, you get coordinates, and that's how you know what coordinates fall on your line. All right, so let's look at some examples. Sometimes they're going to be written out like this: y equals 3/5 x minus 4, and it's pretty easy to see in that case. I find my x, and my coefficient is 3/5. So my slope is 3/5, or my m. Okay, so m or slope is 3/5. Sometimes it's written backwards, not typically mathematically, that's not going to happen, but sometimes on tests people like to try and trick you. Just again, find your x, your variable, and it's the letter, the number, the coefficient, sorry, of your x variable. So in this case, your slope is -2. Always make sure your sign that's in front of the number stays with your number. Okay.